Stacy Igel is the founder and creator of Boy Meets Girl. She's a cause-related marketing partner of Young Survival Coalition, and really great at engaging influencers in her brand and gets approached all the time. Jamilah introduced herself earlier today. She is the digital production manager at ebony.com and also the founder of I Don't Do Clubs, who many of you may have heard of because she is an influencer. And then we have Marquelle Turner-Gilchrist. He is the creator and creative director of the new Stereotype and brilliant Clutter. And we have Colleen Wormsley, wave her hand. She is the PR and talent relation manager at DoSomething.org. Did I get Katherine? No. Okay, we have Katherine Barna. Sure, Katherine Barna. She's the head of communications at Tumblr and has engaged influencers in their Post It Forward campaign. So I'll let Quincy take it over. All of those mics should be ready and working, so just pass them around as you need. All right.
Hello. Can you hear me? Okay, good. I want some response. This is influencing the influencer. So I want you guys to be part of the panel. It's not just us talking.
One second, because I know a lot of people are asking. The hashtag is hashtag CMS16. We wouldn't want to miss that on the influencer panel. I just got to get that out there. All right. Sorry, Quincy. Last interruption.
All right. Okay. So let's get into this. See, this is what happens with technology. I pretty much had everything sorted out. All right. So thanks for being here. This was a panel and an idea that came about during our, brainstorm and the fact that things are starting to change in the marketplace. We've started to see more brands move towards working with influencers. One of the major reasons is the whole ad tech world, where now people are starting to use ad blockers. So the ways that brands are trying to reach consumers directly are one of the major ways is working with influencers to bypass those kind of challenges. And we wanted to put a panel together to talk about, from an influencer perspective and a brand's perspective, to talk about what it entails to work with one. And I know there are a lot of nonprofits in the house, in the building, in the place, that wants to know more about how to go about doing that. Because as nonprofits, there's always challenge with money and finances and resources. So we, of course, want to be able to talk about that and see how we can impart some knowledge to them and how they can go about doing it. So I am going to kick this off with an open question. And I know all you guys some are influencers, some work with brands, and you also influence people. I would like to start with Stacy. I know that I know with your brand Boy Meets World, or is Boy Meets Girl. Yes, sorry. Now I'm thinking about the show. Boy Meets World.
They came back this year. So
oh, there you go. See. You work on both sides. You're an influencer, and also you work with influencers. From an influencer perspective, have you been approached by brands to work with you, even though you have your own brand? And in addition to that, do you see more brands versus nonprofits approaching you, and what is the skew of that?
Wow, we didn't talk about that on the phone. So I have a blog called Behind the Scenes with Stacy Igel, which is a lifestyle blog and also a place where I interview celebrities who I work with, editors, charities, new moms. I'm a new mom. And it started as I was building my own brand in 2008 and morphed into what I'm wearing at events and products I love, my midnight inspirations, which is I work at midnight looking and being inspired by others. And so I've been approached primarily actually by cause brands who are wanting me to share things about their brands, whether it's a headwear brand or a bracelet that has something to do with a cause, and also other brands like The Gap and Mimi Maternity. So it's across the board. It's interesting, as I have my own brand, to be approached by other brands and how they approach me. And so I really am authentic in who I work with on the blog. I also write for Olivia Palermo, so I'm approached on that side as well. And I really talk about what I believe in on the blog, and that's who I cover. Sometimes it's paid sponsorship, and sometimes it's just because I love it. Primarily right now, it's because I love it, because I don't have time to be a real blogger. So that's to answer it. So I think it would be 60-40, so 60 a real brand, and then cause brand 40%.
Okay, thank you. Marquelle, I know that you have your new Stereotype promotion out there, and I know that, of course, knowing you personally, I know that you've been approached by different brands. It's the same question to you.
Okay, sure. So first, kind of let me explain what the new Stereotype is, because I didn't get the opportunity earlier. But the new Stereotype, simply, in the simplest of terms, celebrates and highlights the many diverse layers of Black life in America through fashion, film, and photography. So through a fashion lens, we celebrate the stories of African Americans in the US. And yes, we've been asked all the time for products to be featured in our editorials. And I would say, for me, so far we have not agreed on to do it. We'll be filming a documentary this summer. We're flying out of the country and we're doing a documentary, and this will be our first partnership. But in terms of finding what makes sense, I would say before the companies that reached out did not make sense. And to do a partnership with any other brand or any other cause, I think it has to be authentic and it has to make sense. I mentioned earlier that in order for people to really understand your message, then they should know your tone, because people follow your project, they want to be a part of it because they understand the voice and the tone. So for me, whenever we're doing these partnerships, I want people to automatically understand why we did this partnership without having to explain it, because it makes sense, because it's authentic, and it speaks the same language.
Okay, thank you. Colleen, with DoSomething.org, I know that you are in the millennial space, and how does that fit in with, working with other brands, and how do you guys go about it, and how do you get approached?
So just to give everyone background, DoSomething.org is the largest organization for young people in social change. And so we run different social change campaigns with brands and also get influencers on board. So we're able to work with brands who really want to reach young people, who want to make an impact. And then as a part of that, sponsorship package with brands, we get a celebrity influencer on board to be the face of the campaign. So, really echoing, making sure that there's that authentic fit. A great example of a campaign we did recently, we partnered with 3M on a campaign called Science Sleuth. And 3M is all about getting more young people interested in STEM education. And so what we did was we created a text message game that young people had to use their STEM skills to crack a code, and at the end there was a donation made to a real classroom in need. And so we partnered with Yara Shahidi, who's on ABC show Blackish, who was actually taking AP Calculus at the time when we were doing the campaign, and is so passionate about this. So really making sure when we're working with brands and then we're bringing influencers on board, we want to make sure that we're being authentic, because especially when working with millennials, they can sniff out BS more quickly than anyone.
So what I keep hearing now is authenticity, right? So Genese, I am going to move on to the next question with you. So how do you, well, I will let you introduce I Don't Do Clubs first, because I don't think anybody can speak to it better than you can. And also, when a brand approaches you, how do you vet their authenticity from a brand perspective to work with them? And what is authentic to you as an influencer as well?
I Don't Do Clubs is an online community that caters to Black professionals who are looking for events beyond the club scene, so day parties, brunches, professional conferences. We also have a pretty popular day series called Must Love Beards, which the guys get in free, the girls have to pay. Make sure the gender balance is even. We had a pretty large event on Sunday
I love
for
that.
1,500 people in Brooklyn at the Well, and we're working on a dating app.
Nice. So we talked about authenticity. So when you're working with a brand, how do you vet the authenticity, and how do you evaluate that against what you stand for as an influencer?
Sure. First, I examine the email structure. If there are spelling errors, if you don't explain your business, if you just didn't take any time with it, I already know that can't work. Because I don't
Okay.
want to have to proofread anyone's stuff that goes up that's associated with mine.
Okay.
And then I Google a lot. I look for the good, I look for the bad. And if it makes sense brand-wise, I will have a conversation. But if you send me an email and it doesn't explain what you want initially, usually not. Because I don't have time to schedule, let's hop on a calls, and you explain something and I already know the answer is no.
Okay. All right. So are there brands, just continue from that, are there brands that you have worked with, and this is probably an open question to everybody, that you have gone after because you like what they're about, what their cause is all about, and how early in your career was that?
Okay. I had a email conversation with Bevel, which is a Black-owned beard shaving product company. Also, Nude Beard Balm reached out to me regarding Must Love Beards. And this summer, Miller Lite reached out to me about sponsoring Must Love Beards packages. Okay. So I haven't really reached out to that many people. I'm kind of skeptical about partnerships because you can come in and tell me what I can do with my brand. So it just really has to make sense.
Okay. All right. So, Katherine, this is for you. I know you've been quiet. I was going to get to you.
I'm ready.
So, if nonprofits are interested in partnering with you, I know you work with Tumblr, and Tumblr is huge. So, if they want to work with you, and people in the crowd want to know how to approach you, how to put, is there a way in which they reach out to you? How do they send their proposals in, or they want to find out, so I'd like to know.
Yeah. First, I hope that I get a lot of folks who want to work with Tumblr in the nonprofit space. It's an area that we've actually been fairly engaged for a few years. We've had a few various folks who work specifically on social good, and who initially, when Tumblr was quite small, was doing a lot of hand-holding and an outreach to try to get nonprofits to understand kind of the value of Tumblr as a place to do, really creative storytelling, to help connect with millennials, and I think specifically to help connect with an audience that is incredibly passionate and incredibly thoughtful when it comes to social good. There's a reason why Tumblr has a reputation for having a lot of social justice warriors, which I think is like an amazing badge of honor. So we've worked, and there are several, use cases of nonprofits who we've worked with just to help onboard them. So there's always that opportunity to just go, hey, Tumblr is a free platform. You can really connect with people who are going to get passionate about your cause. Now, what I do is sort of like one level beyond that, which is starting to develop more corporate social responsibility programs for Tumblr as a brand. And specifically, one of the areas that we've really dug into in the past year, and Leah and Lily, who are here also for my team, do a tremendous amount with, is in the mental health space. So specifically, if there are any folks in the audience who are working in that kind of area, we have our program called Post It Forward, which is really about a positive place for conversation around what we're calling mental and emotional well-being. We're intentionally keeping it quite broad because we want to be able to partner with as many people as possible. We've had the opportunity in the past year to really pilot that with a ton of amazing nonprofits, and it's great to see that our users really care. Like they really, really go deep, and they are sharing how they feel, and they're connecting with people across the country, across the world, and building a community around destigmatizing mental health and supporting each other. So I'm just Katherine at tumblr.com with a K and no E at the end of Tumblr. And please, if anything kind of fits the bill, I would love to talk to anybody here. And beyond that, we have a very friendly group of folks here in New York who just want to help onboard as many nonprofits who think that they have a story to tell as we can.
Awesome. Marquelle, the same question to you. How did they go about approaching partnership with you?
So I would say the best way, honestly, is I share sentiments, just making sure that you have deliverables and understanding kind of what your digital footprint is and what you want to accomplish. She mentioned Bevel earlier. Actually, we'll be working with them this summer for the documentary that we're doing, and I can just give you an example of earlier translating and making sure that the language makes sense. So Bevel is the first shaving system for men of color. So the new Stereotype is a fashion and photography project. Neither one of those concepts are novel. They're not brand new. Shaving has been around for a long time. Fashion has been around for a long time. However, what they want to do is explore an untapped market in so many ways that is still left to be explored, and there's still so many things to do. So for me, that was a very natural partnership. So whenever we film our documentary and we're shaving and we're in the barbershop, it seems very, very natural. It doesn't seem like an odd product placement. And I think that when people see the documentary, they won't ask questions and they'll naturally understand it.
Awesome. Stacy? Same question to you. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. So let's go back to the question, because I was going to my Tumblr girl
No
here
problem.
saying I have some people for her. So I missed the question.
No problem.
Yeah.
If nonprofits want to work with you, how do they approach you? How do they go about doing
Okay,
it?
so that's why I was going over here. So I work on Boy Meets Girl and Stacy Igel. So let me just talk about how I got involved in working with organizations. When I started the brand in 2001 and was working 24 hours a day and picking and packing all the clothes to ship to Bergdorf Goodman and Bloomingdale's and all these stores, literally my mom was like clipping, the fabric and the stitches and everything. I realized that I wasn't a doctor and I was working 24 hours a day and I had to give back somehow. So I found the Lynn Sage Foundation in Chicago for breast cancer and slowly found the Young Survival Coalition for breast cancer and started heavily working with them, as well as the National School Climate Center and the Bully Bus Organization for fighting bullying across the country, and the Lower East Side Girls Club with Rosario Dawson. So I started to work with different organizations that really touched on the young customer that Boy Meets Girl had, and we could help influence it through our following to speak to these organizations and have our customer learn about them through what we do. So we're not necessarily a t-shirt brand that is all 100% giving back to these organizations, but through each thing we do, we give back. So my FUCK with the Boy Meets Girl logo, a percentage goes back to the Young Survival Coalition for breast cancer. I've worked with Urban Outfitters across the country and giving back to the YSC. I've done a program with a big YouTuber, Cassandra Bankson, for the National School Climate Bully Bust, and we created a program called BMG Live Out Loud, where we had influencers all over the world enter in and say what was their live out loud moment to share. And it didn't have to be necessarily if they were bullied, but if they came out, if they were gay, or if they had a suicide moment, or just it was amazing. We had 5,000 entries on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, and we picked winners in 25 countries, and then they came onto YouTube and shared their moment, and we compiled this whole video. So I'll send you all the link. But it was an amazing campaign, and we then sold a hoodie that benefited the Bully Bus organization. So I've done all these different pockets of collaborations, which I'm known for, to help benefit these organizations. I worked with Wyclef Jean on a Fashion Week show where we had 30 of these girls from the Lower East Side Girls Club who would never have had the opportunity to see what goes behind the scenes in the fashion show and follow Wyclef, his drummers, me, Sophie Elgort, the photographer, the hair and makeup artist, and have a day in the life at a Fashion Week show. So they got that taste and were able to have that, and they've had incredible things happen with the organization. So back to the question. I've been approached by a lot of organizations to work with them, and it has to really resonate to what I believe in and what I think our consumer and customer is looking for from us, because we stand for courage and confidence and really helping that woman tell her story. So I think that if someone was to approach me, it has to really resonate to what we've already built and who we're working with, and we're open to it. We work heavily with those 3 organizations because they mean a lot to us. But I think that, again, they have to write and spell well and have meaning to what we as a brand are doing and building. So we also just, another really cool partnership I recently did was with the Style Hall, and we had 30 influencers tell their favorite quote on Instagram. And how I tied that to the Young Survival Coalition for Breast Cancer was they told their quote. It didn't have to be about the YSC, but they just said what was meaningful to them, and then they tagged the YSC in their Instagram post, and what we chose a winner based on their quote, and they got 2 tickets to the Living Pink Gala, which was just this past Friday, and then we're shot an Amuse shoot on Sunday. It was my birthday Friday, it was the gala Friday, and I shot them on Sunday in our Muse feature on our blog, which we have a weekly blog on Boy Meets Girl that is showcasing women and some men and couples on who inspire us and are doing good in the world. So that is me in a nutshell. And always looking for some great partnerships that align to what we're doing.
Okay. I think what I'm hearing, and do correct me if I'm wrong, is that they are all approachable, but before you approach them, do your homework. Make the business case. Make it easy for them to say yes. Do some research on what they care about, what they're passionate about, who their consumers are, and why it'd be great for them to partner with you. I know we're going to get to the part of money, and I know everybody's always like, but it's not always about money, and that's what I seem to be hearing.
I think also, who just talked prior to this, I'm sorry, I'm bad with names, but the wonderful man from Vanity,
Yes.
These small touches of how an influencer becomes on board with you. So from this past campaign we just did, a girl who didn't win reached out and said, I never reach out to a brand like this, but I really believe in what you're doing. So to reach that influencer, you really have to have, like you said, an authentic package that makes sense to you and is real, and how you have to do what you're doing with a celebrity. And so I love that little quote, I tweeted it, but that small moment of, that impact that's how we'll be interested in an influencer, or how I'll reach out to an influencer, which is not as much as them reaching out to us, but if I find someone who really has that message, we're going to want to work with them.
Okay, great. I am going to take this question and twist it a little bit, and this is for Colleen. You're a nonprofit yourself, right? I mean, sorry, not yourself, but do something.
Do something.
Not yourself. So, do you work with other nonprofits on initiatives? And because I'm sure there are people in the crowd who want to know, because you go beyond just being a brand and an influencer. You're also a nonprofit.
Yeah, so Do Something works with a variety of different other nonprofits in a few different capacities. So we do have a few not-for-profit partners who work with us similar to the way brands do, where they'll sponsor a Do Something campaign and they'll get benefits like communication to our 5.3 million members via email and text message, social media support, the influencer support, and the creation and account management of a campaign. But then there's also a few nonprofit partners that we work with who are really the utility and help us make that impact and get young people whatever they're doing to make sure it's impactful. So a great example of that is we have a campaign called Give a Spit about cancer, and it gets young people to swab their cheeks to register to be a part of the National Bone Marrow Donor Registry. So we partner with Be the Match on that because young people 18 to 24 are actually the most in-demand donors because they have the kind of freshest bone marrow. And so we're able to provide that value to them, where we're able to, get them those young people as members, and they're able to provide the utility of, giving young people that way that they can swab their cheek and make an impact. I'm also going to jump around and go back to some of the initial question you were asking everyone else about, approaching influencers, because I'm really coming from the other side where I'm the one pitching. And I think, definitely making sure you use spell check and have all that information too. But I think another really important point to that is giving kind of, expectations up front, and what's the time commitment going to look like, because a lot of times I think people will be like, oh, we have this great idea, let's hop on a call, like let's discuss this with you. But if it's something where it's going to be a month-long, 2-month, 3-long partnership, that's different than making a YouTube video or sending out a few tweets. So I think that's also, in addition to really outlining why it's a good fit, the research you've done, here's also just kind of like the expected commitment, like here are the things we expect you to do. And I think if you are approaching influencers, that's so important.
Nice. That's a nice segue into my next question, which is when you're being proposed to, you receive a proposal, whether by email or, by a PDF or well-written formal proposal. What are the top, and I want to go down the panel here, what are the top 2-3 things that, beyond the spell check, right? Because Genese is looking at me like, I already told you, spell check, spell check, spell check. Beyond the spell check, we've gone beyond that now. When you look at the proposal, what are the top 2-3 things that you would like to see? And I'll start with you, Marquelle.
Okay, I would say the top 3 things. First is, I mentioned deliverable. What do we want to end? What is our end result? Second, the connectivity between what you're doing and what we currently do. As a small example, we partnered with a sorority in New Jersey to host a conference for young men who were preparing to go to college, and a college readiness program, and we taught them about nonverbal and verbal communication, their online digital presence, because our campaign is primarily digital, as well as how to tie a tie and how to teach someone else how to tie a tie. And all of those are parallels to our project. And last, I would say understanding the digital footprint. Where will we be seen? How do we want to be seen? And just making sure that the voice is consistent and the tone is authentic.
First, I'd like to know the history of the event. You can provide links, videos, photos, maybe statistics on it. If it's your first time around, I'm probably not going to partner with you. I want to know that it's already been successful. The second thing, deliverables. I need to know how many Instagram posts you need, when you need them by. Am I writing the tweets myself? Are you going to write them? Send them to me in advance. And the last thing is what I don't do clubs will get out of it. Because a lot of times I get partnership emails and it's all about what they're getting. I'm like, that's great, but how does it help us? And a lot of times that's where the conversation starts because they don't have an answer. And that's always like, well, that's not a partnership. That helps you, but it doesn't help us. And that's it.
Always make the business case.
I think this is great because we're all probably going to have very different answers. I'm always looking first at the theme and the audience that they're talking about, because I know what our brand values are and what our audience cares about. So if it's something that is like way off base, then I'm probably already, passing it along. For example, I think somebody sent me an email yesterday maybe, and within the first sentence, I was like, I know I want to partner with this organization. And it was like a little scrappy nonprofit, but within the first line, it was like, this is the theme we're going after. This is our age group. We're here in New York. And I was like, I don't even need to read the rest. Like, I know I want to talk to this person. So I'm looking for that and seeing how it lines up. I'm looking for creativity. We are a brand that has, was really built on the back of our creators. So it's important that it's not just something that's about, sticking logos on a piece of paper and like calling it a day. Like, I need to see something a little creative there. And then maybe it's because I was, an early employee at a really scrappy startup, or maybe because I come from PR, which is like, as people think of, free marketing, but I'm looking like, okay, are you going to cost me a lot of money that I don't have because my budget's really small? And then sadly, sometimes you have to say no because of that.
And then coming from the other end, where I'm, pitching the influencers, the things that I always make sure to include in pitches are just background in the organization. If you've never heard of us, this is who we are, other people that we've worked with to kind of give that use case. Here's the specific campaign or project that we want you to work on and why. Just bulleted outline of this is the exact commitment it would be, and then open it up to any questions. And I think definitely also making sure to include different benefits for the influencer. I think that was a really great point, because exactly, if you are a brand or nonprofit, you have to make sure like you're giving some type of value to, and really making sure that it's a true partnership.
So I'll twist this around because you all said what I would probably say for every answer. But I was approached recently by a PR company that has a cause-related brand to work with Boy Meets Girl. And she sent me like great links, great press, why it would be good for us, why she felt it resonated so much with Boy Meets Girl. And I think she had seen, we had just had People Espanol had featured the shirt I'm wearing. And so she saw that, so she's such a great publicist because she's doing all of her clippings and seeing what's happening. So that just like was very brief, and she said, if you're interested, let's hop on a call. And right there I was like, oh, this is really interesting. I'm gonna look at the link, I'm gonna see what this brand is doing, this might work with us. So again, it's just being really tight and understanding the message for us.
Okay.
And I read every email that comes into our inboxes still.
Awesome. So I hope you guys wrote all that down, and I'm hoping there'll be a video after this, and we can probably recap. So a nice segue into incentives. Genese, you mentioned that, it's not just always about you and the causes that you represent. It's all great, but we also all work, and we're talking about partnerships here. So when it comes to incentives, I guess the question in everybody's mind is, I guess I won't ask this directly because it's like going over a little bit, because the question originally was going to be how much do you charge, but let's go beyond that, because we're in an age now where somebody like Kendall Jenner is getting $100,000 for a post. I think Kim Kardashian did a pregnancy post the other day whereby she said she was going to do 3 tests, and then she showed one, and I'm sure she's getting paid a lot of money for it. So how do you, as an influencer or as a brand, when you're approaching an influencer, how do you, monetize your reach and influence, and in doing that, how do you justify the quantification of that? Like, how do you put a price on it? How do you evaluate that? I think I'll start with Genese.
I haven't worked with that many nonprofits, but the one that I have worked with is the Love Magnia Foundation, which is in honor of 2 black students that were killed on their engagement night. And now the scholarship money goes to black students that are in tech in New Jersey. So I don't charge them anything. I might ask them for a few extra tickets to their events, but it's just kind of, I believe in the cause. But for organizations that have money, I outline how many subscribers I have, my social media reach, the average price to do an Instagram post, and then depending on the organization, I might up it. Like Miller Lite isn't going to be charged the same that like a local organization has tried. So I try to adjust it depending on what the program is. We also have Black-owned Retail Month and Black-owned Restaurant Month. Of course, they're not Miller Lite, so I bring the price down to increase my reach, so they get something and I get something.
Who should I post this to next? Stacy.
Yes. So all the influencers that I've worked with who have come to us has been, thankfully, they love what we're doing. So I, on the brand side, haven't had to pay a lot of money. Kendall Jenner just came to my fashion show, which was a blessing, and it went viral. So we like that. But I think that, now if I have a wish list of who I want to work with, we've seen so many different ways of engagement, from Twitter to Instagram to Facebook, and what does it lead to, and has it hit a sale, or has it driven it to what we wanted it to do? And there's just so many different ways to analyze it. So what is that price that you're going to pay someone, even if they have X amount of followers? It might not mean anything. We've worked with like the biggest celebrity and a very small influencer, and that the smaller influencer brought more engagement. So I think we're always looking, Pooja, who's in the room, who works with me a lot on this, is just sort of looking at what is it going to bring? And are we looking for more of the following? Are we looking for the awareness, or are we looking for that ROI? And I think there's a range of that price point. I'm not the Gap, and don't have that budget. But when we think about who that person is to come to an event, if we are going to pay them, we sort of look at all the different levels of it. But I've been fortunate not to have to do that as much. On my side, Stacy Igel and Behind the Scenes with Stacy Igel, I primarily try to go to things that I really love and I believe in, and sometimes I'm paid for it and sometimes I'm not. Again, it's because I want to be there. So I would do the same thing that she does and give my numbers and my views and what I can bring to the table. So,
Katherine?
Sure. I mean, I think I want to echo what Stacy was saying, which is that influence is a relative term, right? I mean, there's an influencer on Post It Forward might be a young transgendered kid from Ohio who's sharing his or her story and getting a lot of engagement and being really honest and drawing a ton of attention. And would I value that more than Kim Kardashian posting something that just said, Post It Forward with no substance to it? I think I would go for the influencer that is speaking directly to my brand's message and really connecting with people who are going to get it instead of just emptiness. So, I mean, I think that's the first kind of point I want to make. And then when it comes to working, I kind of like sit in the middle. It's interesting. So when we're working with other nonprofits or brands, what I'm offering is not dollars, but I'm offering distribution and platform and engagement. But then we do also partner with influencers on our platform, which is a whole separate level, in which if you want to do something really creative as a joint partnership, and we have our creators make actual artwork that supports your message, we absolutely are paying them, because I think it's really important to take care of the influencers and to make sure that they're treated fairly. Sometimes we're even like, you need to charge more for your work, guys. Like, we need to pay you more. What are you doing? And I think that's really important. So it's an interesting kind of position to sit in, for sure.
And lastly but not least, Marquelle.
So one of the things about this panel I would say that's quite dynamic is that there are varying levels of involvement in terms of this space. So for the new Stereotype, the project hasn't reached 1 year yet. So in so many ways, while I am quote unquote an influencer on this panel, I'm also still a student. So I'm taking mental notes on how to kind of approach things and to do these partnerships. But when I first conceptualized the project and I reached out to influencers to be a part of it, there was no budget. This is strictly grassroots. I want to do something that I believe in, that I'm very passionate about, and I want you to share this journey with me. And one of the most moving things about this is we actually just did an installment in National Mall in DC for women, 7 women, and they flew from New York, they flew from all over to be a part of this installment, and they didn't expect anything, but they simply did this out of the love of what we're doing for our project. So it's very, very moving to me in that way, that people believe in the project so much that they're not expecting anything, but they just feel honored to be a part of it. So again, it's varying levels here, and that's kind of the level that speaks to my project.
Awesome. I will speak to it from a digital marketing agency perspective, because we work with nonprofits. We just did some stuff with We Are Neutral, who help companies decrease their carbon footprints, and we did some stuff with Barna with them. And bringing the thing back to how much it costs to engage an influencer and what have you. From a business perspective, and that's what I can speak to, it's not just about vanity metrics in terms of following. If you want brand awareness, great. You have to find a way to quantify that. But we are getting to the age where deep engagements is really becoming important. It's not just about the number of posts that goes out. How many of your followers are engaged with you? How many do they take actions? So these are ways in which I think would help you when you're trying to put a dollar figure on that in approaching any of the influencers on this panel or anybody else. You make the business case, and the onus is on you to make that. And I think if you look if you approach it from an engagement perspective, right, you can negotiate your way and negotiate the price. And also, not just only about money, talk about what it will drive for them as an influencer, the kind of brand outlook it will be, because really what you're doing is business partnership. And there are three major ways you do business development, right? It's whether you partner, whether you buy, or whether you build, right? So, and partnership is the major thing that you're talking about here, especially when you're short on funds. So always look for that deeper engagement, and if you're just doing brand awareness, and then you quantify it accordingly as well. So I think that's what I speak to from an agency perspective. So, oh, yes. All right. Yes. So since we're pushed for time, I would definitely like to open this up to the audience. So I stopped speaking for you. Do we have questions? And who do we have questions from?
Hi everyone. My name is Keisha. I'm the advisor for Cross Marketing Summit. But I have a question for you guys around, raising up new folks, inspiring folks to become influencers, to move into this cause marketing lane as individuals who are passionate. Are either of you guys mentors? Do you reach out to the young people that you see who are making a space for themselves and inspire them or encourage them to do it with a cause? Just wondering, what is your take on that?
I can take that one. So specifically at DoSomething.org, since we are really targeting young people, ages 13 to 25, there's so many influencers out there that, have this huge reach and have these big names, whether they're, an online influencer or traditional celebrity. And for us, what's most important is just making sure that we reach our demo. And so now, I think there's all these emerging types of influencers on even new platforms, things like YouNow and Musical.ly and all these things that, just making sure to keep up with what young people are, doing and watching. And so something that we've done at Do Something is we, really are always trying to keep on top of trends and news and see what are the new platforms that young people are using, who are the influencers there, and how can we, talk to them about, as they're growing their following, incorporating social good, and especially, since they're, reaching young people, using their platform for good as a young person to get even more young people involved. And then specifically with, different artists and everything like that, I think when you're younger and you don't have as big a following yet, you're not really getting approached by so many brands yet or nonprofits, and it's really, great for a lot of younger people who are really trying to start their career to, have that so that they can, go on to even bigger things once their career's launched.
I want to work with you. So I started Boy Meets Girl University in 2011. And so we have students from across the country come and visit us. We bring in different influencers in the business, and they come and learn about the business through me and through who we're working with. And so we've done contests. We've done actually a contest on Polyvore with a high school in Virginia, and they had to do Polyvore sets on cause-related organizations we were working with, so the YSC and the Bully Bus organization, and they did these different sets, and then we picked winners, and they came and visited us in New York. So I'm dying to get a grant, so anyone in here who wants to work with me on that, and have scholarships for students who, enter into a contest that we're doing. But we've done different things with the Lower East Side Girls Club, so it's a part of Boy Meets Girl that is giving back through different things we're working on. And we're continually growing that, and hopefully we will get that grant.
Yes, I just wanted to add in a quick comment. That's a great question. One of the ways that we have been using our platform is, quick backstory, I lived in the south of France for the earlier part of 2014 as I was finishing studying global luxury management in graduate school. And because of my studies, I understand the perception that people often have of the luxury industry as well as the fashion industry. So I saw this as a perfect opportunity to utilize fashion and digital integration to do something that people don't often associate with this industry. So what I encourage others to do throughout the country is to develop their own version of the new stereotype, which reflects their local area, their demographic. And so far we've had an installment in Dallas, as well as North Carolina and Detroit, in the UK, and we're developing one right now in Washington, D.C., Atlanta, as well as Birmingham, Alabama. So for me, I saw it as a perfect opportunity to rearrange kind of what this industry means in so many ways, because a lot of people think of it as being very pretentious, just for profit, but I think of it as a moving images collective that can really inspire people to do great things as well.
Do you have any other question? Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much for sitting on this with me, and you guys have been awesome. And I look forward to next year.